Introducing the JK Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the JK Podcast. We are here with another episode. We are approaching episode 20, which is a big milestone for me. I really didn't expect us to get this many episodes out this fast, so appreciate you guys' support. I am here with Ben, who is a very popular influencer on Instagram and just overall very popular influencer with around 72,000 followers for his motivational talks about success and just kind of helping people in life. So Ben, how you doing today, man?
Yeah, man. What's going on? I'm psyched to be on here, dude. I'm looking forward to this one for a while. I know we've had it planned for a couple of weeks now. We've been in the talks, but yeah, dude. I'm psyched to be here. Psyched to be able to drop some knowledge and share some of my experiences with all your viewers, dude. Exciting
Yeah,
stuff.
it's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure. I came across your content. I absolutely love it, and it's I like how it's always different every time. It's not just the same thing that you're talking about all the time. It's always different. You have knowledge in all kinds of different genres. I'm interested. How did you kind of gain that knowledge? Like you have a lot of knowledge in so many different spectrums. Like how did that happen?
Yeah, man. I appreciate the question. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all stuff that I've learned through my own experience, whether that's, like accumulating knowledge by reading or podcasts or whatever, or just having lived it. I began on my own self-improvement journey 2 years ago, give or take. Um, and yeah, I was in a really bad place at one point in my life, and I kind of came up and I figured myself out. And so I'm trying to play the role that I want to play in people's lives is able to give them some of the things that I think would have really benefited me to hear back in the day, when I was just starting out on this journey. Yeah, it's obviously I don't have all the answers to the universe. I don't have a one single like hack for a happy life, but
Yeah.
I've learned some things in my own journey, and yeah, just trying to put them out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. That's very similar to me in a way. I've never really thought about making content and talking about this stuff, but I realize like that I don't really have many people around me that I can have these conversations with or that kind of share the same ideas or the same opinions that I do. So I was like, I see all these different content of like motivational stuff, and I'm like, okay, there's people out there that are thinking the same way I am. I'm gonna try and go find them. So, but yeah, that's an amazing way to kind of phrase it. I like the idea of just spreading the word. Everyone has a different life, and everyone has their own experiences that they can share to teach others. So, I really like that about your content for sure. But yeah, with kind of your content, like I said, you're running with a ton of different things that you're teaching to these people. Is there a particular thing that kind of stands out to you with self-improvement, maybe something that you faced?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that most important for people to realize, is that it's not something that happens overnight. Like I mentioned,
Yeah.
I've been at this for 2 years plus, and even still, like I'm not perfect. I still fall back into old habits sometimes. I still deal with some mental stuff sometimes. It's lifelong journey, and people, it's a journey that takes hard work and dedication and commitment, and it's not something that you can, just dip one foot in. It's something that you really have to dive into head first and expect that it's a lifestyle. It's not something that you do you're on the weekdays and then like you take the weekend off.
Yeah.
It's I think that's something that I try and relay in my content. Is that it's a whole new life. It's not just okay. I feel like doing this sometimes. Make myself feel better.
Yeah.
And I mean, sure, to some degree that it is important just to feel better. But if you are a person who actually aspires to make a big impact on the world and make a lot of money and live fulfilling, impactful life, it's you got to go ham, like you can't afford to take days off.
Yeah.
And it's it's a long, long journey, you know. And so I think what's really been amazing, like with how I've like, because with the content, I was on TikTok for a while. I was on TikTok for, I don't know, give or take 7 months. I never really picked up much traction on here. I started this Instagram account in the end of January, and as you mentioned at the beginning, it's definitely kind of taken off. And what I think is pretty beautiful about that is that all these people get to now see like I'm still growing and learning, you know, and that
Yeah.
I'm like I want to some degree be a role model for these people um, that are supporting me, but it's also important that they see that no, I'm not perfect. We all have off days. We all have things that don't go as planned, and be able to inspire them to push through those things in their own life, you know, is very important to me.
Yeah. So many people think that the people that they see on social media, like, are perfect 100% of the time, but that's not it. That's like for me, I'll do a lot of stuff in my schedule, and when I talk about it, people, with friends of mine, I'll talk about it and be like, oh yeah, I do this and this, and they're like, what you doing? I'm like, yeah, yeah, I am. But it's kind of crazy to think like how much of an influence that you yourself can have, but how somewhat it can kind of paint a different picture about yourself. Like for me, I'm not like I miss days when I go to the gym. You know what happens? Like stuff happens. Life gets in my way a couple times, and
Yeah,
I'm not perfect 100% of the time. I'm not, blasting through everything 100% of the time. Stuff happens. So I think that's a good way to look at it is, people, like yourself, like me, aren't perfect 100% of the time. We're not, we're always going to have off days, and it's going to happen regardless.
definitely. And like you mentioned, I think a lot of people kind of have this picture in their mind of because social media, especially the way that it is today. I saw this interesting. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Alex Hormozy. I would assume. Yeah. But he said something along the lines of social media is dead. Now it's just media. You know, and that's because
Yeah.
like the people that you follow and look up to and that you have on your feed all the time, it's not social. You know, it's not me and my buddies are at the beach. It's people that are doing the content game as what they do. You know, like it made a job out of it. And with that comes the kind of depiction that because it's so manufactured in a way that paints the picture that everyone's perfect, you know,
Yeah.
and that it's all exactly how they planned it to be, you know. But whether you're whether someone who's just getting started on this journey or you're at the place where you and I are or you're I don't know Gary V or David Goggins, you know, like everyone's just figuring it out as they go. You know,
Yeah.
nobody has all the answers, and I think it's important that people realize that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking with a guest of ours, our last episode with a person named Ahmed, and he brought it up like I was saying like David Goggins is probably like one of the most disciplined, but he's like, dude, people like David Goggins, people like that have off days too. Like they're not anything different from you. You're a person, they're a person, and they're having off days the same way you are. They're going through challenges the same way you are. So people kind of put people on a pedestal and say like I can't be that person because look at how much effort they're putting in every day. And that's just not a way to look at it. Everyone's kind of everyone's in different places, you have people like you said, David Goggins and Gary Vee who sure have a lot more money, maybe more successful than you, but they're still going through challenges. Everyone just has a different way of having those challenges.
Right. I think it's also an important thing to note that like you don't see start for those people. You know, you only see
Yeah.
once they've made it. You don't see
Yep.
all the sleepless nights and all the hard work that went in the early stages of things. Um, and so that like you kind of separate like that you like you said put them on a pedestal and it's like this person's not human. They're like they're up there, you
Yeah.
know. And I think that's why, especially like I mentioned with how manufactured social media is these days, it's important to show the other side of that, you know?
Yeah.
Um, like what I mean, I don't want to sound cocky or whatever, but like what I've had a lot of success in my videos are ones that like I relate to the viewer like, hey, yeah, I've been there. You know, like I go through this too. You know, you're not alone. And I think it's important that like to show that more vulnerable side of yourself because otherwise you paint the wrong picture and people don't understand that you're actually just a human being on the other side of the screen, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, it's incredibly important.
Yeah. It's nuts to see how many people create such a big influence on people. Like if you just scroll on Instagram, you will see so many different people just living different lives and all of them portraying a different message. And for me, my Instagram page is just a ton of, you know, bodybuilded people and like all this kind of content like that. And
Right.
some days, that content can be really good. Like yeah, I'm gonna go work out now because I didn't feel like it. Now I'm gonna go. But some days, you'll see that and it could push you down because you'll feel like, damn, look at that dude. I'm not even close to where I want to be. So that content can be very good and somewhat,
Discouraging.
affecting, discouraging, yes. And I like that, like you said, to kind of show the more vulnerable side of yourself, to show like, hey, I wasn't here, 2 or 3 years ago. I weighed 110 pounds or something, like whatever it is. Everyone had their own challenges. Everyone has their own mountain to climb. People didn't just fall at the top of the mountain. It doesn't
Right.
happen. Yeah. So,
Right. And I think kind of on that note as well, you know, that's one of the things that like one of the main points that I try and get across in my content is like don't compare yourself to everyone else, you know, because that is especially in today's day and age, you know, it is like that is an epidemic is
yeah.
everyone seeing like you mentioned on your social media feed, you see people that are levels and levels and levels above you, you know, it's
Yeah.
like it's so easy. It's so easy to just think of that as, you know, how it is, what everyone's doing, you know, because
Yeah.
it's so much of what you consume. But you do that like you said, you're knocking yourself down, you know, and yes, you can use it for the motivational aspect of it and use it to get your ass in gear and maybe go to the gym or whatever it might be. But if you're using it as like a way to judge yourself and to make yourself, or I guess justify not doing those things because how could I ever get to where that person is? You know, it's a very, very thin line. Super dangerous game to play because if you're like, and with that constant comparison comes just, you feel terrible about yourself because
Yeah.
there is always going to be someone who is richer than you or is more attractive than you or has a better physique than you or whatever it might be. Um, and when you're so hyper focused on that all the time, not only do you take away energy from your own grind and from working toward whatever it is that you might be working toward, but you also just destroy your mental, you know?
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Like they say, comparison is the thief of joy, and it can really, once you see yourself climbing this mountain, once you start to compare yourself, you feel like you're falling down in a way, or going down the mountain instead of going up. How do you think people can stop comparing themselves to others?
Um, that's the $1 million question right there.
Yeah.
Um, I think a lot of it is being intentional about the way that you think, you know?
Yeah.
Of course, and I talk a lot about I, one of like the key phrases that I include in a lot of my videos is conscious, you know? And the reason that I do that is because the more conscious an approach you take to life, you know, and the more conscious you are of the way that you think and the way that you act, you know, the more able you are to modify those actions and thoughts.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a key part of it, you know, and I guess taking a step away from that identification with your thoughts, um, because if you have no sense of like if every time a thought pops into your head and something like, oh, I'll never be as good as this person, you know? If you're entirely identified with that thought, it just becomes your truth, you
Yeah.
know? And you're not able to take, put any space between that and what's actually reality, you know? So I think that's a very important one is becoming more intentional with the way that you think and recognizing when your thinking patterns aren't serving you, you know, so that you can adjust and course correct and maybe even like verbally counter it with, okay, maybe I'll never be as good as that person, but I'm not trying to be as good as that person. You
Yeah.
know, I'm on my own journey. So
Yes.
stuff like that. I would say another thing is to become extremely clear on end goal, you know, in your own life. And I know that's a pretty relative term because there is no end goal. You know, it's a
Yeah.
journey with no destination.
Yeah.
But the more clear a person can become about where it is that they want to go, the more focused they'll be on that journey, you know, their own path, as opposed to how everyone else is doing. So I
Mm.
think, yeah, those would be the two key things that I would say are most important when it comes to batting that constant sense of comparison.
Mm. The hardest part is just mental. Just, I realized like I used to never go to the gym. I wasn't really a super fit guy. Like I played sports and all this and would do that. But I realized like now that I'm consistently going to the gym, I push myself in the gym. You know, when I started it was grueling because I just my muscles weren't used to it. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Right.
And what I realized is like for me, you know, personally, this is my opinion, is like the mental part is 10 times harder than the physical because you know once you're trying to build strength it's tough, but I feel that building a strong mental confidence, a strong mental strength is incredibly difficult. It's very hard to do, but it's possible and you can train it to you know get better by many different ways, you know, like meditation, whatever it is, and you can build a strong mental self. I feel that if you build a strong mental mind, you can accomplish pretty much anything, and then the physical part comes after. So
Definitely.
it's really
Definitely.
important.
And I would even go so far as to say they go hand in hand, you know, because and that's why I'm such a big, like, whenever I work one on one with someone, first thing I tell them is get your ass in the gym, you know, because
Yes.
that discipline that it requires to be in the gym is the same discipline that it requires to do anything well, you know,
Yeah.
and succeed in any area of your life.
Mhm.
And I think like, yes, of course, the mental aspect of things is incredibly important. The easiest way to achieve it is actually by doing things physically, you know,
Yeah.
and proving to yourself that you're both competent enough and capable enough to actually excel in that thing, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but like you said though, it very much so is a mental game. And so one of my favorite analogies is like the way in which people track their finances, right? Like you have a whole spreadsheet and you know everything that you spend money on every single month and stuff. And yet that's just money as opposed to literally how you feel and how you think and all of that, and people just kind of they fall into the cycle of just let their thoughts happen and they don't even try or believe that they can have any control over them,
Yeah.
you know. Because like on the topic that I touched on a minute ago in terms of being more conscious and intentional with the way you think, the way that starts is realizing, believing that you can have some control over the way that you think, you know. Um it's just like we're in a day and age where people are so consumed in what's going on around them all the times that they don't often take the time enough to look inward, you know, and really get to know themselves and understand the way that their mind works, you know. And so without that in like very intentional, specific, targeted work on your mind and on the way that your thinking patterns are and on the way that your belief systems are, you know, it's it's next to impossible to actually make
Yeah.
a change in those things in any capacity.
Yep.
Um, yeah, that's a collection of thoughts on that topic.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the idea of, and I totally agree with, you know, starting off physically because once you start to see like how you change, you gain this just incredible amount of confidence in yourself and you feel so much better. Like
Yeah.
it's hard to explain, but it's so hard for people to just get over that jump, that hurdle and actually start working out physically. And once they start doing that, they're like, "Damn, I'm doing this. I'm doing great at it. What else can I do?" That's what happened to me. I started physically, I was doing pretty solid, and I was like, "What other doorways can I go through? What other things can I accomplish? What other things can I add into my routine?" So to the people, I highly recommend, if you're trying to start self-improvement, start off physically, and that will build your mental strength very far. And then maybe try and throw some stuff in there, whatever you feel, works with your passions. So, but yeah, it's very, very hard for people to do that though, because they see so much influence from others with comparison. And I think the main reason to that is to strive for perfection. Everyone wants to be perfect,
Mm.
but you can't. It's no one's perfect. How
No.
do you think people can maybe get out of that cycle of trying to be perfect all the time?
So, I mean, like you said, perfection is unattainable,
Mhm.
and if that's your goal, all you're gonna do is impede your own progress, because when you're when you're striving to make everything perfect, it's gonna hold you back from actually a lot of whether it's business or the gym or name an area of life, it's a lot of it's a game of reps, how many times can you how many days in a row can you get up, put in the work toward doing whatever that goal is, and if every single day you get caught up in trying to do whatever that task of the day is perfectly, you're going to end up with the same task tomorrow and the next day and the
Yeah.
next day. It's it's not possible.
Hmm.
So I think that realization is definitely important. Um, I think that it's also important for people to realize that consistency is far more important than perfection, because if you're trying to do something perfectly, you're gonna discourage yourself and then you're just gonna quit, you know?
Yep.
Because when you like when you're striving for perfection, right? It feels like if you don't attain it, it's a failure, you know? But real failure is to get knocked down and then not get back up and try again, you know? Um, so that's my 2 cents on that. You said something though that really interested me, um, which was people have really hard time getting started and sticking to it or something along
Yeah.
those lines. When you were talking about the gym, and I think core of that is because, well, first of all, it's a game of discipline, right?
Yeah.
You you aren't going to stick to something even if you know it's good for you if you aren't committed to building that discipline in your life. And discipline doesn't come without keeping yourself accountable,
Yeah.
or not even necessarily keeping yourself accountable, but being held accountable, you know? And so, especially with the gym, but like we mentioned, the same discipline required in the gym is the same discipline that's needed for any area of success in life. Um, to find a way to keep yourself accountable, whether that's tracker on your phone, how many days have I gone to the gym, or and I'm just using the gym as an example because I think it's
Yeah.
most applicable. Or maybe it's someone that you consistently go with, who even on the days where you're tired and you don't want to get up out of bed and go, like, hey, you said you would go, so let's go, um, because it takes roughly 2 months, give or take, to build a habit, and once that habit's there, right, it doesn't become something that you think about doing anymore. It just becomes a part of your day.
Yep.
And that's where the real growth is made. That's where real strides happen, is because when you can implement one of those things, then stick with it for 60 days, and it becomes a part of your life, then you can add on the next one, like you mentioned, you look at other areas of your lifestyle and say, what more can I do? Because you've proven to yourself. And I think the confidence in the gym, of course, it comes from like you look way better than you did, it also comes from sticking to something that you know is good for you
Yeah.
know um because a lot, like, would say there's a pretty significant chunk of the population these days that just doing anything to take care of themselves, and especially physically, because when you're not taking care of yourself physically, you're just gonna feel like shit.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it, quite frankly, because like your body and your mind are so interlinked. And if you're eating terribly and you're not getting regular exercise, you're not getting enough sleep, just your mental game's not going to be there. And when your
Hmm.
mental game's not there, then all those goals and aspirations that you have kind of fly right out the window until you're able to your biology in check.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's why it's so important is to have some way of keeping yourself accountable or having someone else keep you accountable.
Mm.
Because it's like it's like steps, You
Yeah.
can implement one thing, just one thing. If you stick with it, and by the time in a couple months, you'll have all the energy and all the power within yourself to then move on to something else that you know does you well. It's like building blocks. Um, yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree, man. I feel like you know physical strength and just working out physically and starting there is like the gateway drug to everything else in a way, and it's a good gateway drug. It's a very positive one, and it makes you feel really good, and then you just want to do everything else. For me, sometimes recently, I'll write down, every month, every start of the month, I write down like everything that I want to try and stick to, like maintain a solid diet. I'm trying to bulk right now, but
Hmm.
I'm trying to eat healthy while I'm trying to do it. So like stuff like that, and I feel good doing that because I know I'm staying to that. But some days like recently this weekend, I totally broke a ton of that stuff, and I felt terrible. I was like, God damn it, I just ate a goddamn ice cream. Everything's messed up now. I'm like, but
Right.
like we were mentioning, like we were talking about before, that stuff's gonna happen, But you have to try very hard to stay to yourself and say, hey, like we said we're not going to do this. We gotta change this up. We can't continue to do this. And I think that's something that has worked for me is because I've realized like, hey, I'm not doing this every day. I'm back in the gym today. You know, it's how
Right.
it is. I'm back on the saddle.
Right. And there's a very fine line between accountability and shame,
Hmm.
um, because like accountability will keep you moving in the right direction. But when you're shaming yourself for not doing whatever it is that you said you'd do, it's an entirely different story, because
Yeah.
it destroys your psyche, like if so let's use your example, right? You had an ice cream and you broke the diet that you said you were going to stick to,
Hmm.
uh, you could choose to just tear yourself apart over it, and let it take complete hold of your mind. And by doing that, more than likely, you would not get back to it the next day because
Yep.
you're in a much worse place mentally than you were a couple days ago, you know. And that's it. Like, so yeah, there's a very very fine line there between, like I said, accountability and shame. And I think the way that you can kind of sort it out is by making a shift from if I don't do this thing, I will feel bad. I will look bad. I will not be the best version of myself, to doing this thing because I want more for myself, because I deserve more out of this life. I'm eating a strict diet because I deserve because my body is a temple, and I
Yeah.
deserve to look really damn good. For whatever reason that might be,
Yeah.
for in the individual case. Um, but it's just it's a very fine line, and I think that's honestly what like for anyone that sets out on their self-improvement journey, I think a lot of the time that's what makes them falter, is because mess up one day, or maybe it's a full week, of not sticking to what they said they did, and then they just tear themselves to shreds over it.
Yeah.
They feel so much worse that kind of supplement whatever it was that they were feeling good about before with whatever vice that they might have, you know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, very very important stuff, and that's one of the biggest shifts. And like I mentioned before, I'm not perfect. You know, like there's still times where I'll catch myself, you know, shaming myself over something that I said I wasn't gonna do and I did, or the other way around. You know, um, it all comes back. It all centers on being intentional with your thoughts and the way that you talk to yourself. You know,
Hmm.
um, it be the shift from something as simple as "damn it, why'd you do this to yourself?" to "come on, you deserve better." You know, it's all about intentional thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, the way you perceive things is the most important part of it, even after, unfortunate things that happen. Another funny story that happened is, I don't remember, it was some day this weekend. I have a neighbor, or I live in this apartment complex things, a couple apartments down. There's this neighbor of mine that I don't know what he does, but he has like everything. Sneakers on the wall, all this stuff, and he got a black Lambo recently, and I saw that, and this was on the day that I wasn't doing anything. I was like on my phone for 7 hours or something. Like I was just in bed, not doing anything because I don't know why. I just didn't feel like it, and and I went outside to go walk my dog, and I saw that just drive by, and the people waved to me, and I was like, all right, man, we got to go do something about this. Like, how are they allowed to do this and I'm not? How can
Right.
they drive this and I can't? So, stuff like that, and not shaming yourself for it, but just saying, come on, hey, you deserve better. You can do this. You can get what they have, and you can achieve this. You can achieve
Right.
this, and hold a fine line to yourself. Don't just say like, oh well, that guy's perfect. I'm never gonna be like that. You got to perceive things differently, and that's one of the most crucial parts. Is just you know take things that happen to you as kind of an opportunity to change, in a way.
Definitely.
Yeah.
As opposed to they happen to you, they happen for you,
Mhm.
because especially like when you're striving towards something more out of life, you know, whether that be successful business or great physique, you know, it's you will be tried, you will be tested, you know, and you can look at those tests as why is this happening to me? Why is God or the universe doing this to me? You know, um, but something that I've been trying to tap into a lot lately is that all these tests, all these trials and tribulations happen for you. You know, it's for character development. You know, and it allows
Yeah.
you to come out, to see what you're really made of and to come out on the other side stronger than you went in. You know, and I think that's incredibly important. But the only way that that works is if you look at it, like you said, as an opportunity to grow,
Yeah.
to learn, to improve yourself, as opposed to something that you have to deal with. You know, um, yeah, yeah,
I totally agree. Yeah, it's important, man. There's gonna be wake up calls. There's gonna be things that come to you that you could say God or the universe is trying to show you in a way. It's just trying to, like you said, character development. That's how things happen. That's how things change. Everyone's going through their own stages of character development. If it's down in the dumps. Like my girl broke up with me. Stuff like that. uh, that stuff can change you completely. It sucks. It does. Like it's not a great feeling. No one likes it, but you kind of need that to happen in a way for that to change your life and to push you in a different direction.
most
So
definitely,
very important.
most
Um,
definitely.
you know,
And
go ahead.
all right,
No, you
I
good.
think it's important to note too that, you know, like the only time you actually grow is when you step out of your comfort zone, and the only way that you step out of your comfort zone is if you are put in situations that are not comfortable. You know,
Yeah.
whether that's a breakup or you get fired from your job or whatever it might be. You know, that's the only place you can be to actually grow. You know, when things are not going your way, when you have to sort of scramble to figure shit out. You know,
Hmm.
it's because the comfort zone is the killer of dreams. You know, and I think people kind of get confused, um, because there's so much. Some oh, this is definitely something I want to talk about. There's social media and just the general state of affairs of the world today, there's so much instant gratification and easy dopamine hits, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and those things grade your ability to work toward a more long-term goal, to really put in the hard work and to make something happen for yourself. And that kind of easy pleasure, has become baseline for most people. But there's a huge difference between pleasure and happiness. You know, all you if you go about your entire life doing just what's easy, just the things that you want to do, as opposed to doing the things that are more difficult, are needed, then you're not gonna have a very fulfilling life, because
Yeah.
all the things that truly are worthwhile, whether it's whether it's financial or time or location freedom, or beautiful family of your own, or an impact on the world around you. None of those things come from settling, doing what's easy. It takes hard work, and yet those are the same things that lead to the most fulfilling lives. Lead to the most deep sense of inner peace and happiness and enjoyment of the life that you live. And sorry, hold on.
No, you're good.
I apologize. There's just some background noise.
No, you're good. Don't worry about it. But yeah, I agree, man. Just to add on to that before you come back, but yeah, uncomfortable moments, uncomfortable things that you go through are incredibly important.
Definitely. Um, yeah, and like I was saying, like it takes a lot out of you, especially at first, to get started on
Hmm.
more difficult path, you know, and it's like, and I think that's why a lot of people don't do it. It's because the barrier to entry is so huge,
Yeah.
It takes time and energy and effort that you don't even think you have in you. Um, like when you're first getting started, because you've never done any of those things before, you don't know that you're capable of it.
Hmm.
Um, and yet you get a few months down the road, it's like, oh shit, I can actually do this,
Yeah.
and you start to pick up steam. Um, it, it's rare, that a person is intentional enough with the way that they live their lives and make the conscious choice to step out of that comfort zone and stop doing what's easy and what's fun and what's comfortable every single day, and decide, okay, I'm gonna do something that's really difficult, you know, and because I know that it will lead to a better life for myself. It's because we've been conditioned to not take risks, to not do the things that are uncomfortable. Because of maybe a fear of, wow, fear of failure. Um, it's it's detrimental to so many people because they live their entire lives feeling like, I guess, knowing that there is so much more out there for them, but they don't know how to go get it. They don't know if they have it in them to go get it.
Hmm.
And so that's really why I think it's so important that people like yourself and I are spreading the message that we are, you know, to inspire those people to go out and do those things, that they're scared of doing, or that they don't know if it's going to work out in their favor.
Yeah.
Because sometimes all you need is someone else who believes in you, you know, because genuinely, I believe that anybody, it doesn't matter where they're from or what their background is or what their level of IQ is, or whatever it might be, I don't believe that there's anybody on this planet that if they really want something and are willing to go out and put in the work to get that thing, cannot achieve it. You
Yeah.
know, it's just a matter of being able to push them to actually start.
Hmm. Yeah. I totally agree. One thing I would say is that the hard stuff that you do, the stuff that you do to try and achieve what you want, that goal, it's not going to be negative. Sometimes people will think like, oh, if I work out today, how is this going to change my life in the future? If you train and you work out and you work and you put in work, put in hours, put in effort, things are going to come out of that. Good things are going to come out of that. Regardless, I don't think it's possible to work out for 4 years and not have a good like physique. It's impossible not for that to happen unless you work out for a minute or something. I don't
Right,
know,
right.
but like it's impossible to not achieve what you're trying to get if you don't if you're putting in effort. It's weird how people can think that. And I think it's just, a way of, kind of worrying about the future and just worrying about what's to come and how this is actually going to lead that to that greater goal, to that greater thing. So
Right.
if you put in effort, you're going to get something out of it,
Definitely.
regardless.
And it's I like what you said about it won't be negative, you
Yeah.
know, because I think there's I guess kind of a misconception about if, if I live my life the way I'm currently living it forever, it'll just stay the same.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily true, by living it exactly like by not making any changes, it's bound at some point to start doing one of these, as opposed to even if you just changed one thing, maybe you maintain or maybe get better, and it's like it's very difficult to kind of make generalizations about this type of thing because obviously everyone is their own individual and what they do for themselves might not have the same impact on their life as it would for another person. But if you're in a place where you're not very content with, like that's just content, like not even super sad or depressed or anxious or anything, just not particularly content.
Yeah.
Worst thing that you could possibly do for yourself is stay the same, is not make any changes, because think about over time that feeling of discontentment compounds, and then you feel bad and then you feel worse and then you start that downward spiral of depression or anxiety or whatever it might be. Um, it's like realistically, change your entire life, the way that you feel about yourself, the way that you look, the way that you go into other social situations and the way that you think and all of it. It would take like 2 hours out of your day each day, 2 hours of commitment, say an hour in the gym and then some time for just basic habits, meditation, journaling, reading books to expand your perspective of the world, like, and 2 hours isn't that much time.
Yeah.
Like, it might sound like a lot of time, but one thing I encourage people to do is like literally just check their screen time. It's like how many
Yeah.
hours did you spend on TikTok today? You know,
Yeah.
what if you allocated 20 minutes of those 4 hours, to get in touch with yourself a little bit by writing your thoughts down?
Hmm.
Um, because it's like it's hard to kind of go from I don't have enough time to I'm not allocating my time in an effective manner, you because nobody like inherently as human beings we don't want to admit that we're wrong. We don't
Yeah.
want to admit that we could be doing more because like I mentioned a minute ago, like comfort zone, that kind of it's ingrained into your mind to think that you're doing what you should be doing, what you can be doing. You know, um, and it takes high level of consciousness to admit that you're wrong and that you could be doing more. You know, um, so it's like, but to challenge someone to like take a deeper look and really view week by week or day by day how they're allocating their time and to what it's going to, um, like that's enough to drive someone to make a change right there. It's like, damn, I really spent 6 hours on TikTok today. There's nobody. I don't care who you are, what walk of life you're from. Nobody thinks that that's filling, or that's what they want to be doing with their life, or that it's respectable. You
Hmm.
um, and so just like the reminder that there's more out there for you, and look how you're spending your time. Sometimes that's enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to kind of add on to that, like I said, yesterday was a tough day for me. Like this weekend, I was like, God damn it, like I'm not doing anything. Ice cream, all that. I spent 3 hours, 14 minutes on TikTok, 1 hour and 58 minutes on Instagram, and that's pretty much it. 46 minutes on YouTube, and a total of screen time. Apparently, I don't know how I was on Cash App for 55 minutes. I don't think that's right. There's no way that's right. But but 13 hours and 15 minutes according to this. So think of how much time that is that I could have been doing more positive things. And I had that sketched out in the morning. I think what happened is that I kind of got in my comfort zone early. I said that usually I'll take cold showers in the morning, and I didn't. I took a hot shower, and it was like comfort, boom, comfort. And that led to all these other comfortable things that I felt like doing. So, you know, that gateway, what you do to add on to kind of something else on the side as well, is what you do in the morning is also very important because that shapes your attitude for the rest of the day in a way. So,
Sets the tone,
yeah.
definitely. Um, I'm sorry, you were gonna say something else. I
No, no, no,
apologize.
no. I'm done there.
All right, cool. Yeah, no, the so specifically the 10 minutes that you're first awake, you know, um, because during that 10 maybe 15-minute window at the start of your day, you have more like conscious control over your subconscious mind, or not control, I would say influence over your subconscious mind. And so if you like if you wake up and snooze the alarm and then you kind of lay around or you scroll on your phone, you're telling your brain that okay, this is what we're doing today. You
Yep.
know? Um, but it takes, I don't know, a productive task. Like how long does it take to make your bed? 3 minutes? Like if you spent 7 of those 10 first minutes of your day making your bed, or 3 of the 10 minutes, whatever, making your bed, right? You're setting the tone for a productive day. You're getting shit done because if you're gonna spend like the moment that you're awake, if you're gonna spend that time doing something productive, doing something that sets the right tone for the day, it's gonna be reflected in everything you do.
Yep.
And notice that like I'm typically in my own life, I'm typically a pretty early riser during the weekdays, but then on the weekends I allow myself to sleep in a little bit. I'll be less less vigilant with like getting up on the first alarm. And it's interesting to see how much less productive I am during the weekends.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't drink or smoke or any of that stuff. Like it's not like um me just partying and whatever.
Yeah.
It's literally just because I don't start my days with the same setting the tone.
Yep.
Um, it's like it's crazy how much it plays into the quality of your day.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is for me. Is the weekend is like easier, and I'm just not in the same mindset as I am in the weekdays. Like for me, I've mentioned this on so many podcasts. I'm sure the people are annoyed that I keep saying it, but I wake up at 4 a.m. because I have to go to school, and I wake up at 4 a.m. to work out, and I work out for like 1 to 2 hours depending on what it is. Legs takes me God knows how long, but
Yeah.
I wake up this early in the weekdays, and when the weekend comes, I sleep in, and and again, that's kind of myself putting myself in a comfort zone. I'm not saying that I'm gonna wake up at 4 a.m. on the weekend. I'm not gonna do that. But but you know, there's a lot of distractions in a way you could say, or just habits that can come in that can affect your overall day. And like 80% of the people out there, this is not an actual statistic, just throwing out a number, but most of the people, like every morning, you know what they do? Grab their phone. That's the first thing. Grab their phone, look at notifications, scroll on TikTok, blah blah blah. That's how
Yeah.
every morning starts for so many people. I'm not one that's not doing that as well. I do it sometimes as well. I'm trying to stop though. But so many people do that. I cannot even tell. Like most people, I think most people do that now. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
It is crazy. Um, because like especially like we were just talking about the way you start your day, but especially the dopamine that you receive
Yep.
those first 10 minutes, you know, if it like if it's the instant gratification stuff, you know, versus you roll right out of bed and do 50 push-ups, like
Yeah.
whatever. Um, it makes a world of difference, you know, and yeah, that's something that has single-handedly changed my life is for at least the first hour of my day, like I won't touch my phone,
Yeah.
you know,
That's
because
good.
it's so like you can just get sucked right in, like, and obviously having to some degree made Instagram a job for myself, it's like I tend to find myself on there fairly often, and it's so easy to just
Yeah.
get in, like
Yeah.
scrolling. Like you go on there to check, oh, how's my video performing, and then it's just, oh, look at this, and then you're just stuck. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like that by design too, which is the even scarier part. Is that
Mhm.
that's what they want. You
Yeah.
know, um, yeah, that's that's a huge reason why I do what I do is so that maybe people get something good out of that instead of just girls shaking ass and
Yeah.
whatever else.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, that's what I always do, man. Like I'm about to post a video on TikTok and I find myself scrolling and I don't even post the video. And I get so mad. I'm like, God damn it, I didn't do that.
yeah.
But it's so common. It's so easy to just get distracted so fast. It's because just it's the
Yeah.
easiest gratification. And like you said, you know, those first 10 minutes, you want gratification like fast instead of working for it. On TikTok, you just open the app. That's it. I'm done. Oh, look at that. I'm happy now. And it's tough. Something that I did this morning. I'm making this a habit. I'm trying to make this a habit for me. Is I have this amazing window in my bedroom, and I love it because I live in Utah, so I have the view of all these mountains and stuff, and just houses below, stuff like that. I'm trying to implement into my schedule that once I wake up, I don't touch my phone. I just look out the window for like 5 to 10 minutes, and then I go on with my day. Just that's a great way because you look outside, you're like, oh, okay, look at this, and blah blah, and it's a good way of just being in touch with the world, being in touch with nature for a second, and then going on with what you have to do. So
Most definitely.
yeah,
Most definitely.
so yeah,
Um,
to the people, control what you do in the morning.
yeah. And it's easier said than done for sure. But again, it's about building a routine around what you know is good for you.
Hmm.
Um, one thing that I did want to just touch on real quick is that, um, like we mentioned, we've been talking about the first couple minutes of your day, but it's also about once you kind of get into the loop of something, it's way hard to get out of it. So like, it's in the sense of like even if you start your day the right way, but then you find yourself it's what at 4:15 p.m. right now, day's starting to wind down a little bit maybe. You just sit down and you start scrolling, you know, and then you keep scrolling, and it's like it's so easy to let that become your day,
Hmm.
Y- and like once you kind of start, it's so difficult to get out of that loop. And that could go for anything. It could go for eating like shit. It could go for skipping the gym. Like, but it's important to remember that every off day is just one day. you know
Hmm.
every morning you get a fresh start,
Hmm.
and just because, like you mentioned, you had 13 hours of screen time, just because that was your yesterday doesn't mean that today has to follow suit.
Yeah.
Every day is day one,
Hmm.
and if you allow what happened the day prior to dictate what happens today, then it's gonna be very difficult to ever get to where you want to be in life.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially if you have goals, you just get stuck in that habit, and then it just becomes a habit. That habit becomes a habit.
yeah.
But yeah, it's dangerous. But since we're talking about social media, do you think social media is more of an enemy than an ally?
Um, I would say it depends on how you use it.
Hmm.
I think so. As a generalization, yes, it's an enemy because it like there's some. it destroys people's attention spans is the long and short of it. It programs your brain to only want instant gratification and fractures your attention so
Yeah.
that over time it becomes increasingly difficult to actually do anything that requires hard work and planning over a longer period of time, like, for example, being in most jobs in the workforce or starting your own business or I don't know, you name it, anything that's worth achieving, um, and most people use it. I don't know, 95% of people use social media just for the sake of scrolling, and even if that scrolling is intended with intention to learn something, maybe it's you only follow self-improvement people or gym people or whatever. It only goes so far to learn those things, to have the knowledge in your head. Until you implement them, it's the same as anything else.
Hmm.
So I would say for the people that are just scrolling, it's an enemy because quite frankly, the adverse effects are far greater than the good they can get out of it. Whether that be, like I mentioned, the attention span stuff or the constant comparison that we talked about earlier. All that stuff is driven by spending all your time on your phone. Quite
Hmm.
frankly, for the people though, like you and I, who primarily use social media to create and to inspire and to spread the message that we have in our hearts with the world. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Um, and like literally, if by the time I was done with all this social media shit, because that's like, I, for now, I definitely want, like, this is my path, but I have greater aspirations than this. I want to start
Oh yeah.
a couple businesses down the line and so on and so forth. But if by the time I was done with it, I had inspired every single one of my followers and never be on Instagram again, and that just deleted my follower base, I would be content with that.
Yeah.
I would be at this point in time 70,000. At that point in time, who knows? 70 70,000 people at living their lives in a more productive, more fulfilling way. You
Hmm.
know, um, so it's a very thin line, but
Hmm.
I would say more often than not, it's an enemy and it impedes progress.
I agree. Yeah, I think it depends on, what your For You page is and just what kind of comes to you, what you kind of enjoy to view. For me, without the content, without this kind of content, I would not be where I am. This content that I saw on social media. It was around, the time like I don't know, maybe after COVID-ish time
Right.
when some person that was in Romanian prison, stuff like that, all that stuff was popping up, and it made this whole new wave, and without that kind of content that came in, I would not be the person I am today. But it's a it's a weapon, man. It's so dangerous for me to go on it, and that's why I'm implementing a new thing. Is I just delete it. I delete my apps on my phone most of the day, and then once I actually have to do some work, content-wise, I'll download it and then delete it again once I'm done. So uh,
That's
it's one way. And another thing I liked, I forgot. I have to find his Instagram, but he brought it up. Something that I never thought of is you can turn off your phone. Like some people don't even have that in their brain. They're like I can turn off my phone? What? I can do that? Like it's crazy to think. I totally forgot. Like I was like, "Oh my God. I could just boop done." Nah, all right.
yeah.
I don't have to do it. It's it's
Huh.
it's easy. It's
I'm gonna
something you
start
can do.
implementing that, man. That's awesome. I
That's what
didn't
I'm
like
saying.
like I didn't even, you don't even doesn't even cross your mind,
I
you know?
know. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I really wish I could credit that guy. But yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't even know about that. I totally forgot. I totally forgot you could do that. And now I'm gonna have to start doing that. But
No, definitely.
that's just one example of how you can kind of control your habits in a way. There's so many different ways that you can kind of control bad habits, stuff that you're doing, uh, to kind of stop it, you know.
Yeah. And I think it's like we were talking about earlier. It all starts with your intention. You know, if if you're not even conscious of the fact that your 8 hours of screen time a day or whatever it might be is a bad habit, you know, you're not going to do anything actually get rid of it, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Um, it's like, it's important to just raise awareness about that. Like, because it's so normalized, you know? It's so just common and expected, and you don't think twice about it, you know? It's just like, oh, like, I don't know, sitting on the toilet, you scroll through your phone for
Yeah.
15 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just, it's such a common part of people's day that's ingrained in their life, you know?
Mhm.
But honestly, I really like that. Just turn the phone off because I've tried to, and with my deep work sessions, like I have to keep my time pretty regimented because so I'm doing the content creation stuff and I'm in school and then I
Yeah.
also work a part-time job. So it's a lot going on, and that means that the time that I can actually allocate toward this, you know, is very important how I utilize it. And even still, I find myself sometimes I'll check my Instagram an hour into my session of working, you know, and it's like, and then it just kind of when you're trying to do something, when you're trying to do something that requires immense focus, you know, then you check your phone, it throws it all way off. Um, I'm definitely gonna start implementing that. That's huge.
Yeah, I
Really just
to credit the guy,
phone off.
I just found his Instagram. Sean
Yeah.
Olishin, I think that's how you pronounce it. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, he brought that up, so credit to him. But yeah, it's a good way. I'm implementing it once I go to school and stuff. But yeah, man, there's so many ways to kind of tackle those tough things that you deal with, and yeah, I mean that's how I perceive it. That's how I think. And to people that are trying to start self improvement, because a lot of the people that listen, there's new viewers that come in. If you're trying to start self improvement, man, I'm telling you, like, just first you have to kind of realize what is pushing you down, what's kind of holding you back. And once you do that, you can write it out. That's what I did. I just wrote it out on my notes app and said, like, this is what's stopping me. I'm gonna stop doing this, and this is how I'm gonna do it. So if you just kind of realize like what's stopping you, you can see so much time come in your schedule. You'll see, hey, I could be doing all this instead of this, you know.
Right.
Hmm.
Something that really helps for that as well is literally blocking your time out, like on Google Calendar or whatever.
Hmm.
Like literally just take a look at what you have each week, what your obligations are, the things that you need to do, you know, and get super detailed. You know, time for work or school, what time you're going to the gym, meals, and even after all that, you'll see like you have mad free time.
Oh
Like you
yeah.
have a ton of time just to do whatever. And like when that's literally laid out for you like visually like on the computer right in front of your face, it's like how can you justify spending that extra 7 hours of your day that you have to just do whatever you please? How are you going to
Hmm.
justify that
Yeah.
doing all of it scrolling? You know, like it's I don't know, all about being conscious and intentional of the way that a person uses their time.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, man, I totally agree. It's something that, you know, people just have to kind of perceive what they're doing with their lives, and that's the same way for me, you know, once I saw how much time I'm spending on social media, I set up like time limits on my phone to stop that as well. So, you know, I think the biggest thing that's holding many people back is your phone, and just realize that, you know, kind of take that, and once people can see how much time you're spending, go on the screen time, see how much time you're spending, and that will be a wake up call for you. I'm telling you, it will be
Yep,
completely.
that ain't the truth.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because once you like you said, that's what holds most people back because all that like if you can even if it's an hour or two a day, that you can cut down that screen time, that gives you an hour or two a day. Do whatever you need to do to work on yourself, you know. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Some stuff.
Yeah. Well, Ben, it has been an absolute pleasure, man, having you on. And yeah, if you have a last message to the people, if you want to shout out your Instagram, please go ahead.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. The Instagram is just at Ben Fogelgren, my name. But a last message, you have it in you. To whoever's watching this, it doesn't matter where you're from, the way that you were raised, none of it. You have it in you to live a life that you're fulfilled with and that's worth living. So, a lot of the stuff that we talked about today, right here, right now, you can implement into your daily life to make that happen. So, go out there and get it.
Yep, I agree. And yeah, to the people watching and listening, thank you. And we will see you again very, very soon with our next episode, which should be dropping tomorrow, hopefully. Actually, yeah, maybe, maybe. I can't guarantee anything, so just be ready. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. And Ben, thank you so much for coming on. If you guys don't follow him, I don't know what you're doing. Um, just make sure you turn off your phone. And yeah, thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.